Today we're going to learn how to divide fractions, but before we do, I want to talk about the word reciprocal. If you still struggle with the word reciprocal after this video, please go back and watch my video on reciprocals under the video section in our Google Classroom. A reciprocal is the product means multiplication, of two fractions, and it is 1, so the answer has to equal 1. So let's just take a look at what that means. So if I have the fraction 3/5 and I ask you to find the reciprocal because the product has to equal 1, we basically will just flip it around. 3/5 becomes 5/3. So when I multiply my fractions, because it says it's the product, so when I multiply the fractions, 3 times 5 is 15, and 5 times 3 is 15, and 15 over 15 equals 1. So my two fractions, there's my two fractions, the product, I multiply them, equals 1, just like it said here. Let's look at another fraction. Let's look at 1/2. I have to find the reciprocal of 1/2. So I'm going to multiply it because I have to find the product. And the reciprocal is, flip it around. Instead of 1/2, it's going to become 2/1. I just flip the numbers around. So when I multiply across, 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2, and 2/2 equals 1. Let's look at the reciprocal of a whole number, okay? Because it said the reciprocal has to be two fractions. So if I have the whole number 3, well, first of all, I have to make 3 a fraction, so I'm going to put a 1 under it. Now I need to find the reciprocal. I have to flip 3/1, and I get 1/3. To check my work to see if I found the correct reciprocal, because this is the reciprocal. This is the reciprocal of 3. I multiply them. 3 times 1 is 3, 1 times 3 is 3, and that answer is 1. So the reciprocal of 3 is really 1/3. Okay, so now we know what a reciprocal is. We're going to go ahead and we're going to actually divide fractions. So let's look. I have 1/5 divided by 3/4. All right, so I'm going to have you guys go ahead and write the steps. And again, if I go too fast, just pause it. That's okay, you can pause it. The first step is going to be multiply the reciprocal. Multiply the reciprocal. That's going to be our first step. So what do we mean when we say multiply reciprocal? So here's my fraction problem, my division problem. I have to multiply the reciprocal. So I'm going to put a circle around divided by 3/4. Because I have 1/5 divided by 3/4. I need to multiply the reciprocal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave 1/5 alone. That does not change. But I have to multiply the reciprocal. So here, the division becomes multiplication because I'm multiplying. And the reciprocal of 3/4 is 4/3. Now I look back and I have what we had before, which is multiplying fractions. You can either cross cancel, or you can just multiply the numerator, multiply the denominator. Well, I see that I can't cross cancel anything in here because the only factor that goes into 5 and 4 is 1, and the only factor that goes into 1 and 3 is 1, so I can't simplify it in the problem. So I'm just going to go ahead and multiply 1 times 4 is 4, and 5 times 3 is 15, and that cannot be simplified, so that is my answer. So step 1, multiply reciprocal. Step 2 and 3, multiply, I'm just going to put that. the numerator and denominator. And well, that's step 1, step 2, and 3. Step 4 is going to be put in simplest form. Now again, you could have cross-canceled so that step 4 could fall in a little bit before step 2 and 3 if you decide to cross-cancel. Let's try another problem. Let's try, I'm gonna do that, 1/6 divided by 2/3. 1/6 divided by 2/3. Okay, so here I'm going to multiply, this first step says multiply the reciprocal. So I'm just gonna draw a circle around this. Okay, multiply the reciprocal. So 1/6 stays the same, you leave it alone. And now I'm multiplying the reciprocal. So I multiply, so I have 1/6, I change it to multiplication, and the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. Now I can go ahead and multiply my numerators and denominators, but you know what? I see something in there that I could easily cross-cancel. I look at the 6 and the 3, and I know that 3 is a factor of 3 and 3 is a factor of 6. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cross-cancel these two numbers to make them smaller because I like to work with smaller numbers. So I'm going to cross off the 3. 3 goes into 3 one time. So I'm replacing the 3 with a 1, and I'm gonna cross off the 6 because I know 3 goes into it twice, and I'm replacing the 6 with a 2. So now instead of 1 times 3, I'm gonna go ahead and do 1 times 1. 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 2 is 4. Let's try one more problem. This time, we are going to divide 1/2, and we're going to divide it by 3. There we have our whole number. So before I can use my whole number, I must see my whole number. Before I can do anything, I need to make it a fraction. I need to make the whole number a fraction. A fraction, and you do that by putting a 1 under it. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 1 under it. All right, so now I really have 1/2 divided by 3/1. Now I just go back to my simple steps. I'm going to multiply the reciprocal. So I'm going to draw a circle around, divided by 3/1. And I'm going to leave 1/2 alone because we don't do anything with that, but we're going to multiply the reciprocal. So division becomes multiplication, and the reciprocal of 3/1 becomes 1/3. I look, there's nothing I can cross cancel, so I just multiply 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 3 is 6. That's how you divide fractions.